I'm Tiffany Ramsey. I'm the head of compliance and risk here at Engaging Networks. I've been with the company going on 3 years now. In the past, I've worked for large corporations such as IBM, where I was a data security officer, HIPAA officer, et cetera. And we've got a couple other people that I'm excited to have on the panel with us today. So we've got Mike. Mike is our data protection officer. We're going to talk a little bit about what he does for us today. He's not actually an Engaging Networks employee. He works for a company called Castlebridge. And so, Mike, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Get the mic there.
Yeah, so hi, my name's Mike. I'm the data protection officer. So we using the model data protection officer as a service from Castlebridge, which is a UK and Ireland based company that does data things. And well, we do data governance, data leadership, data protection. And in this case, on this day, I'm doing data protection. And that's what I provide for Engaging Networks.
Very good. And then we have Alexi here on our staff. And Alexi, how long have you been with Engaging Networks?
Yeah, so that's about 3.5 years now.
Okay.
And I work in the back end, making sure the websites are up and running pretty much. And we are safe and sound.
Very good. All right, so let's get into it. So what we're going to talk about today is Engaging Networks, data privacy and protection, and again, what our DPO does for us. And then we're going to talk about the fraud landscape and how Engaging Networks protects your donors. Okay. So on this first slide here, this is just an overview that talks about the fact that, number one, Engaging Networks is serious about data privacy and data protection. And as you can see on the left are the frameworks that we adhere to. HIPAA is a U.S. framework that has to do with healthcare protection, healthcare insurance. And then there's GDPR, which we all know is a European, EU, UK thing. SOC 2, and I have on the right listed what these are. PCI DSS for those of you who use our fundraising module, and then the EU AI Act also. So as is depicted on this slide, we have external assessors that come in and assess us on some of these, and then some of them are internal self-assessments that we do. But the point of all this is to show you that, again, we are serious about data protection, and we are going through the rigor of various frameworks to make sure that we're protecting your data. I have a highlight there that I talk about GDPR as being the most stringent. It is an EU law. And hence, we have our data protection officer here to help keep us in line. One other thing that's listed on there as well is the data privacy framework, which our data protection officer advised us that we needed to align with. And that is something that allows us data equivalency when it comes to data hosting for the UK, for Swiss.
So just on that, because we transfer data to the US for engineering, we had to come up with a module, a way of doing that. So we went through standard contractual clauses, we went through all of that, and what we've done, because there is a slight separation between the US entity and the UK entity, we can use the EU-US data privacy framework with the UK bridge. So we do, both sides signed up to that. So that's what she's trying to get into. So all the right English is my first. It's not actually my first language, but that's another thing. It's another point. All the right requirements are being followed in terms of when we transfer the data for engineering to our US-based engineering team. Switch.
Very good. So again, to talk about what our data protection officer does for us, and Mike, how long have you been engaged with Engaging Networks? I think you were helping us before I came on board.
I'm going to say my first engagement with Engaging Networks was 2017.
Okay. All right.
So
So it's been a while. So, and just briefly here, I have listed. So again, Mike is our advisor. He's, for GDPR compliance, he helps us to understand what we need to do in terms of data protection. So data protection policies, we've got a plethora of data protection policies that we are supposed to follow for how we handle data internally, as well as our client and supporter data. The area of potential data breaches, cross-border transfers. I mean, you see the list there, and then the data protection impact assessments. So whenever we bring on a new process or a new vendor, we have to do our due diligence of doing these data protection impact assessments. So Mike is someone that I lean on very heavily, and he's an independent resource that's there to not report to us, but help us through these items. Anything else you want to add to that, Mike?
no, so my main efforts are our own data. We have our own personal data that we handle spread across Europe, Canada, and the States. So I have that as a primary responsibility, I suppose. And then we look at how we keep your data secure with it and make sure our systems are data protection compliant, and that the fact that I'm doing that does not negate the requirement for you to have your own data protection officers as well, doing your own data protection things, because you are data controllers in your own right as organizations.
Good. All right. This next slide here, I wanted to touch on this before we get into the fraud area, but this ties in with data protection. How many people in here have actually seen our security center? Can I see a show of hands? People, I see a couple of people, 3 people maybe. All right, so, and of those, everybody else, do you log into the Engaging Networks portal? Are you responsible for it? Okay, so I see people shaking their head. So Security Center is something that you access actually from the Engaging Networks portal. So what you see here on the slide, when you go into the portal, under your name, there's a drop down and you can get to the Security Center. So the importance of this is on the Security Center, that first tab there is a link to something that's called our Trust Center. And our Trust Center is where you can go out and find all of the information about our assessments, what we're doing, and if you're being audited, that's where you can download. It's really a self-service place where you can go to get all the information about what we're doing. You can get our attestation of compliance, our SOC report, so anything that you need to assess Engaging Networks to give to your auditors, you can find there on our Trust Center. And we put updates out there, anything that has to do with security and privacy and compliance. The next one there is, well, I almost can't read that, it's kind of small, is managing the low volume pages. Okay, so why is this important? If you have pages that are not being utilized a lot, you need to go in and look at that. And this is a view of that for you, and look at closing those pages, taking those pages offline. That reduces your fraud footprint, for example, and your security. If you're not using a page very much, it's always wise to close those down. So you can find that here in the Security Center. The next one is your vulnerabilities. Now, we do internal scanning of our pages to look for vulnerabilities to help you as a client keep your systems protected. And this is a way that you can get a list of your vulnerabilities. It would actually be shown there, that next bullet on the page where it says page vulnerability overview. If you had criticals, highs, or medium, or even low vulnerabilities, that would be listed there. And we will be reaching out to you if you're not taking action on that to tell you, hey, you've got some critical vulnerabilities that you need to go back in and fix those. That might be things like outdated JavaScript or something like that. The next bullet there is for those of you who are using donation pages. This is where you would download your page list for PCI scanning. Okay. And then the other one is content security policy. That's another security feature that we've added, again, around PCI compliance. So again, if you haven't looked at Security Center, I'm putting this here to advise you to go out there because this is another area about data protection. It's how you can protect what you have the responsibility for. Right, so now let's shift over to Alexi's area of expertise, and we're going to talk about the fraud landscape and how Engaging Networks protects your donors. So go ahead, Alexi, I'll let you.
Okay, so fraud is a constant battle for us in the back end. We constantly fight with fraudsters trying to test cards, and the amount of it is quite substantial. You can see on the slides it's around 40 million in first 4 months this year. So most of it was stopped by our proactive rules, which are various rules that we've got in place that we catch obvious signs of a fraud, and then we also have an automated way of blocking incoming traffic when we spot something that's fraudulent, like a customer can come to us and say that they are seeing some attempts of fraud. We also have automated solution in place that looks for certain patterns and adds a managed challenge to the firewall. So this is the proactive number, and recently added, that's just a number of events that were caught by the automated rules quite recently. So as you can see, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, this is, hopefully, this doesn't scare you, but this is here to make you aware that, you know, there's a lot of fraud that's happening in the industry. And we're not immune to that. And so, as Alexia said, we've taken proactive steps and we've blocked a lot of stuff, but there's things that we have to react to as well. So now, Alexia, we'll talk about.
Okay, so when we see some sort of fraudulent activity, we obviously detect it either ourselves or by a signal from a customer or any other source. And then we try to see what's the pattern, what's the tell sign of the actor, the current actor, because they change often. We've got multiple actors. Some of them are really sophisticated, some of them are less so. So then we try to extract something that we can match it. We apply the rule, so that's usually a managed challenge. And after some time, if that's a consistent signal, then we apply it permanently and it's always there. Or if that's just like one off, the rule becomes retired and never used anymore. So yes, and the traffic that we see recently is quite often driven by AI. They can mimic humans really, really well, and they are very hard to spot. So that's why we use our proactive rules, reactive rules sometimes, because they present themselves as real people interacting with our clients' pages and trying to do carding. And so that's it.
Good.
We are an open platform, so we allow our clients really a lot of freedom. We don't limit them in any way. So that's why you also have to do your ASV scans for compliance, because these are your responsibilities. And as a result, we also have got a lot of fraud as well, and that's why we have to combat it all the time. And what was that to say? Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, some fraud will always go through. You know, that's a given. And if I were to say one thing, then if you apply a managed challenge as often as possible, that will keep you much safer with minimal friction to your supporters.
Very good. We heard that magic word, managed challenge. And I see a show of hands. Everybody know what we're talking about when we talk about managed challenge. All right, we get a lot of questions about managed challenge, but you heard it from the man here. That's the one thing that he would recommend is you got to have those managed challenges.
Yeah,
So that's the
these are managed challenges are still quite effective against bots, and bots come from various places, and they utilize botnets that change the IPs every 3 requests, for example. So we cannot ban an IP, we cannot ban a network because they jump from one country to another, even though they are the same actor, the same person or group of people doing the attack. And as I said, it's quite difficult to do that, but managed challenges still are fairly good and really effective with fighting that.
very good, very good. So that's what we wanted to present today. I'm hoping to make this interactive, hoping that you have questions for our data protection officer or about fraud. So I'll pause now to see. Do we have any questions in the queue? Okay, and somebody's raising their hands. Go ahead. Can we give her a mic? Hold on for a quick second. Let's get the mic.
We've noticed that when we did have like a big number of bots that keep changing their emails, one of the things that I did, I changed the donation on our donation pages to reduce it to that if it's not 2.69, which is really random, then they can't donate it. And I found that it was quite effective because I don't think that those bots had tried to see what is the smallest amount that they can go. So I don't know if it's useful for anyone, but we found it really useful just to choose a really random number that you can see in your data that people will not try and it won't be actual people. But if it's useful, that could be a way to tackle it from your own side.
Thank you. Yeah, and on that, I was interested on your advice around managed challenge now, because we've had those issues, and actually what we found was, well, we had restrictions on the amount that could be donated and the currency. Despite that, something was still getting past it, and things were going through as $1, which shouldn't have happened from what we could see, but something was going behind the scenes to bypass that. So we've ended up putting on managed challenge permanently, which was the sort of only way we could with our compliance teams. They were very uncomfortable with it, and so that was the requirement. So on what you were saying, is that sort of your guidance now, is that should be on, or is there anything going on behind the scenes around those sort of validators that should stop that happening in the future?
We are constantly working on it, on making sure that we catch them much quicker than we do. So, for example, if there's a wave, because these attacks come in waves, usually. So when there's a wave of, let's say, 100,000 of requests, then we catch them at 70, 100, something like that. So there's still some amount of going through, but we usually catch them quickly. So we constantly try to improve on that. Yeah. And we also introduced verification of the minimum donation amount to the back end as well. So it's not only in the front end, it's in the back end. And unfortunately, fraudsters adapted quickly sometimes, and they increased the donation page. And yeah, so.
Yeah. For those using Stripe, like we started using Radar because of that. Do you have any feedback from your side? Because I know that the board in Footballers International were really worried that, like, what does it mean? And, like, I think that the word fraud just scares a lot of people. And, like, I had to do, like, a report of, like, what we do to mitigate it. And I'm not, like, really a cybersecurity person. So I was wondering if you have, like, any, like, ongoing conversations with Stripe just to see, like, if there's anything else. I found that Radar is quite useful, but it is on the pricey side.
Do you want to speak
Yeah.
to that?
I'm not that familiar with Radar, to be fair. I just heard of it, so I
Yeah.
don't want to make it
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
So Stripe, I mean, we are, I think we mentioned, in fact, I know we mentioned on our website that, your first line of defense against fraud really is your payment gateways. So yes, Radar, Stripe's utility for combating fraud is very much recommended. And, we do work with Stripe to talk through when we're seeing incidents. I mean, earlier this year, we had a lot of fraud that was directed toward the Stripe payments, and we were working with them, and they were recommending managed challenges. But yeah, you're right that implementing what they offer, although it's costly, I mean, that is really your first line of defense, is to go with the payment gateways, fraud detection and fraud prevention tools, because they're on the front lines of all this. And as you said, you saw some improvements by going with Radar.
Can I add one thing? Hi, everyone. For those of you who I haven't met, my name's Leah, and I'm the VP of Client Success at Engaging Networks. And I've only been here for about 18 months. My very first task was PCI compliance, like my first week here. And then shortly after, we started really dissecting fraud and the Stripe spike that we had seen, especially around Christmas time. I just want to add that, so I actually do know a little, we should talk to Sam about this, the skip verification, right? With the Radar rules, yeah, we can talk about that. I wanted to say on the product side, we have been meeting with Stripe like frequently to kind of go down their layers of what we can do to implement and enhance. And I would say we have we meet twice a week to be monitoring client activity, because the goal is to not necessarily have to have the managed challenge on at all time, but until we can feel confident that fraudsters are deterred or have moved away, it felt better for some clients instead of popping it off and on. So we were keeping them on and off, doing it a manual review, and then we were actually creating a rule that would allow it to come off after a certain amount of time. But there's some clients that are still being hit all the time. So I totally understand that it's a moving target. I just wanted to double down on the effort of the client success team with our DevOps team to make it more manageable, so that you don't have to be thinking about fraud so actively so much all the time. So yeah, happy to chat with our support team and with Alexi as well if we want to explore a little bit more on that side. But I just want you to know it's a huge priority for our team, because we want you to be thinking about it less. Do you want to add anything? Yeah.
No, that's fine. We want your questions.
So it's actually, just thinking about one of the other mitigations that we ended up putting in place, which I probably should have had before, was, I guess, internally in terms of sort of our reputation as a team, and that we have a separate fundraising module to the rest of the organisation that we're trying to get more buy-in with. Did present a bit of a challenge in terms of that when this came up. But one of the steps that we'd put in was the notification emails, because we were only notified by the fundraising team saying, hang on, something's gone on and it's come via Stripe. We were hit again, and actually having us be the first port of call, the Engaging Networks notification come through to say it had happened, was quite helpful. So having those notifications on has been a really useful step that I probably should have done before, and have now got them on for everything, which actually is a bit overkill every time someone does an export. I've got a load of unread emails, but having it for the fraud has been helpful, that it's spotted immediately. We can take action, talk to those teams as soon as it's spotted.
Good. Thanks for sharing that.
Great, thanks. So I have a question, bigger picture for the experts up here. What's next in the EU and UK in terms of privacy? And I think there was talk about e-privacy and AI regulation.
Yeah, we've got the AI Act coming in for the. I don't need it. I don't need it. for the EU, and we are working our way into that. We have policies written so that we now are following the basis of the EU AI Act when we are developing AI and deploying AI within engaging networks. So we are, if you like, if not quite ahead of the game, but we're certainly up with the game in terms of our adherence to that, and the changes that are coming through, the changes to the e-privacy directive, and changes to the AI Act, which happened in the last week or so. They will all be baked in as quickly as my little fingers can type out the changes, and then get them through the process. So what are they going to do next? If you're into bureaucracy, they'll do something. And they are. They love bureaucracy. The EU, it's a bureaucrat's dream. It really is. That doesn't mean I'm for it or against it. It's just a statement of fact. It's about bringing in bits of bureaucracy. That's the bureaucracy that sits within things like GDPR, all the things you have to do to get it right, to be able to prove that you've got it right. Because when you're audited, you're able to do that. Read your data processing agreements with us about all of that. If you want to be sure that we're following what we say we're following. But part of Mike's reason for being here today, and he's already cracked the whip with one bunch of people, is to crack the whip on our own data protection, because different interpretations, depending upon which side of the Atlantic you sit, upon what is necessary. But then we're catching up on what, you think GDPR is bad, and it is. If you wanted to just relax and, do what you like, it's bad. It's really good for privacy. But it applies to 28 states, because it includes us as well, UK GDPR. In the US, each state is interpreting its data privacy laws to suit their own interpretation. So there's 50 different interpretations, not a federal interpretation. And then we have Canada as well, which has both a federal and provincial interpretations of data privacy. So it keeps me busy, keeps me interested. It keeps us interested and busy. But if you've got questions, please ask them, because, here's a nice time to put the three of us on the spot.
Are there any other questions? We have experts up here on the panel. Mike just volunteered to be put on the spot.
X as in has been, spurt as in drip under pressure. That's us.
Oh, put it on the app. Okay. Do you want me to read it? Okay. Say.
Just wondering. Sorry. Given other people asking similar questions, do you think there's a room to maybe have like a active live room? So if one of us catches someone live, we can then share it among ourselves on that specific thing. Because what I think we saw that when there's an agent going after your clients of yours, they might be trying other people that they know are your clients. So I'm just thinking, well, working together, is there any room that we could just work with, I don't know if it's a hotline or something like that, whether we could just
What's the speed of response that we can build into Alexei and his fellows detecting something happening, or you detecting something and telling us?
So you're
So that we
for a
can tell
communication
everybody.
channel?
sorry.
Yes?
She was asking, if she's being hit by a bot, is there a way for her to, is there a channel for her to share that in case other people are experiencing the same thing?
I was thinking maybe the community.
As someone who manages the support team, what I would say is I've actually asked the same thing, because I don't know if my name is going on the emails out to let people know what's going on. And so it really is a balance. I'm just going to say this for Alexei, it's a balance between giving them space to figure out what's happening so that we can understand scope, right? Because like it's really important to let people know what's going on as fast as possible, but like I also don't want to alarm someone if this is just like a normal thing. Like I think what wasn't said, and I have learned, and for many of you that have been in online fundraising, like fraud has always been a thing and will always be a thing. That is like the bookend of it. In between, when we see spikes, we definitely need to address it. But I don't know that that would translate to the client communication as much as you would like. And I would say the fastest way to get reviews so that we can spot patterns is actually the support tickets. What I find is like not everyone knows how to clarify something as urgent so that it can be escalated properly. So if you don't know how to do that with your, like there's a way that you can like write it so that it gets to tier 2 faster, check in with your ASM and they can walk you through that. But that's actually the fastest way to get the support team to tag the DevOps team to find patterns. Like I could say like you could post something on community, but like that's not going to get the guys to look at the back end like we need them to. That's just like the honest answer, because I'm always like, I'm ready to tell everybody, what are we doing? When's this going to stop? But it's a dance between them investigating so that we can figure out scope. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks so much, Leah, and great plug for support and the account success managers. That wraps our session. Thank you so much, Mike, Tiffany, and Alexi. Love hearing just how seriously you take data and privacy here at Engaging Networks, because it is a big deal. And you know, Leah said fraud's been hitting nonprofits forever, but we're one of the biggest targeted industries. I forget what the stat is, but it's definitely in the top 3. With that, we're on lunch break. We'll be coming back here at 1:20. So go find some yummy food and maybe meet someone new. Thanks so much.
Thank you.